My mother rejected me, my father was nowhere. On Kisses and Hugs Club today for singles and couples. Episode 67. My mother rejected me, my father was nowhere. Proverbs 3 verses 5 to 6. Have trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. In the heart of the vast African savanna, nestled within a small village, there lived a woman named Judith. Judith was known throughout the village for her sharp tongue and unkind heart. She was married to Chidi, a quiet and humble businessman who was often away from home, traveling to distant lands to provide for his family. Despite Chidi's efforts, Judith was never satisfied. She constantly compared him to other men in the village who appeared more prosperous, not caring about the sources of their wealth. Judith's heart was as hard as a stone, and she showed no kindness to her family or to Chidi's relatives. Judith and Chidi had a daughter named Helen, a beautiful young girl with the potential to brighten the world. However, Helen grew up in the shadow of her mother's harsh ways and her father's frequent absences. Judith's behavior only worsened over time, and she began to flirt with other men, seeking a lavish lifestyle that her husband's honest earnings could not provide. Helen watched her mother closely and, seeing her mother's ways, decided to follow in her footsteps. Helen often sought affection and approval from her mother, but Judith, hardened by her own loveless upbringing, remained insensitive to her daughter's needs. One instance that resonated deeply with Helen occurred on her 10th birthday. Helen had spent the entire day eagerly preparing a small celebration with the hope that her mother would join her in cutting the cake she had helped bake. As the evening approached, Helen dressed in her best clothes and waited excitedly for her mother to return home. Judith arrived late, her mind preoccupied with her own affairs and grievances. When Helen ran up to her with a wide smile, holding out the cake and asking her to light the candles, Judith barely glanced at her. She brushed past Helen, muttering about being tired and not having time for such trivial matters. Helen's smile faded, and tears welled up in her eyes as she stood alone with her unlit cake. The village whispered about Judith's neglect, but their warnings fell on deaf ears. Helen's heart grew cold from the lack of nurturing and affection. Without the guiding hand of a father or the nurturing care of a mother, Helen became reckless and wild. She followed her mother's footsteps, seeking validation and worth in material possessions and fleeting relationships. As Helen grew older, she faced many challenges common to young girls in the village. The pressures of fitting in with her peers, the allure of material wealth, and the desire for male attention led her down a path fraught with difficulties. Helen sought to fill the void in her heart with the admiration and gifts of older wealthy men who promised her the world. She believed that their attention would make her feel valued and important. At school, Helen struggled to concentrate on her studies. The other girls whispered about her behind her back, calling her names and spreading rumors. Helen's reputation preceded her, and she found it difficult to form genuine friendships. She often skipped classes to attend parties, where she felt a fleeting sense of belonging and excitement. One particularly painful incident occurred when Helen was 15. She had become infatuated with a wealthy young man from a nearby town, who showered her with expensive gifts and sweet words. Helen believed he loved her, and she dreamed of a future where they would be together, away from her tumultuous home life. However, one day, she discovered that he had been seeing other girls and had no intention of committing to her. Heartbroken and humiliated, Helen felt more lost and alone than ever. However, there was one person who never gave up hope for Helen: her grandmother, Mama Adama. Mama Adama was a wise and gentle woman who spent her days praying fervently for her granddaughter. She believed in the power of mercy and the strength of faith, and she knew that deep within Helen lay the seeds of a good heart. Judith's harsh demeanor and lack of affection had roots in her own childhood. Her parents had never shown her love or warmth, leaving her to grow up feeling neglected and unworthy. Without any mentors or wise elders to guide her, Judith felt helpless in her role as a mother. She knew she wasn't being a good mother, but she had no one to turn to for wisdom or counsel. This lack of guidance became her undoing. As Chitty and Judith grew older, they were filled with regret for their actions. Judith continued to teach Helen to seek wealth through any means, even suggesting she should aim to be a single mother to a rich man's child. Judith, blinded by her own ignorance and the lack of any proper guidance, failed to realize the detrimental effects of her teachings on Helen. She had no role model to show her the value of nurturing, love, and moral integrity. Instead, she passed on her flawed values to her daughter, believing that wealth and status were the ultimate measures of success. The result of Judith's ignorance was devastating for Helen. Helen became entangled in a web of materialism and shallow relationships, constantly seeking validation in the wrong places. She developed a skewed perception of self-worth, equating her value to the material gifts and attention she received from men. Her inability to form meaningful and respectful relationships left her feeling empty and unfulfilled. Helen's life took a dark turn when she was diagnosed with a terminal illness. The news struck her like a bolt of lightning, shattering her world. As she lay weak and in pain, her parents were filled with sorrow and regret. They saw their lives flash before their eyes and realized the consequences of their actions. But amidst the darkness, Mama Adama's prayers reached the heavens. Mama Adama, Judith's mother, had always been a woman of great faith, known throughout the village for her unwavering devotion and her belief in the power of prayer. Despite the distance Judith had placed between them, Mama Adama never ceased to pray for her daughter and her granddaughter, Helen. One fateful night, as Helen lay on her hospital bed, feeling the weight of her illness pressing down on her, something miraculous happened. The room was still and quiet, the only sound being the soft beep of medical equipment. Helen's body was weak, and she was enveloped in a deep sense of despair and resignation. As she lay there, she closed her eyes and tried to find some semblance of peace. Suddenly, a gentle breeze swept through the room, rustling the curtains and bringing with it a sense of calm and tranquility. The cool air brushed against Helen's face, and she felt a strange warmth envelop her, as if she were being wrapped in a comforting embrace. She opened her eyes and saw a soft, warm light filling the room. The light was not harsh or blinding but soothing, casting a golden glow that seemed to drive away the shadows of her fear and pain. In that moment, Helen felt a presence of mercy and love that she had never known before. It was as if a divine hand had reached out to touch her soul, filling her with a profound sense of peace and hope. The presence was gentle yet powerful, bringing with it a deep assurance that she was not alone, that she was loved and cherished beyond measure. As the warm light enveloped her, Helen felt her pain begin to subside. The throbbing aches that had plagued her body for so long seemed to melt away, replaced by a soothing sensation of relief. Her breathing, which had been shallow and labored, became easier and more rhythmic. Strength that had long eluded her started to return, and she felt a surge of vitality coursing through her veins. Helen closed her eyes again, but this time, it was not in despair but in gratitude. She whispered a silent prayer of thanks, her heart overflowing with a newfound sense of faith and hope. She knew that this miraculous healing was not just a random occurrence but a divine intervention, a response to the fervent prayers of her beloved grandmother. The next morning, the doctors were baffled. They had prepared for the worst, expecting Helen's condition to deteriorate further, but instead they found her sitting up in bed, her eyes bright and her face aglow with health. The tests they conducted revealed an inexplicable improvement in her condition. The illness that had once seemed unstoppable was now in retreat, and Helen's recovery defied all medical explanation. With her newfound health, Helen saw the world with fresh eyes. She sought forgiveness from her parents and vowed to live a life of kindness and humility. Judith and Chitty, moved by their daughter's transformation, also sought to change their ways. They reconnected with the village, offering help and kindness where they once gave none. Judith, in particular, began to understand the importance of love and nurturing. She sought counsel from Mama Adama and other wise elders in the village, learning how to be a better mother and wife. The community embraced her, offering the guidance and support she had longed for all her life. Mama Adama's faith had brought a miracle to her family. Helen, now with a heart full of gratitude and a spirit renewed, dedicated her life to helping others. She became a beacon of hope and a testament to the power of love, faith, and mercy. The villagers, seeing the remarkable change in Judith, Chitty, and Helen, were reminded of the importance of family, the power of prayer, and the necessity of community support. And so, the story of Judith, Chitty, Helen, and Mama Adama became a cherished tale, passed down through generations, teaching that no heart is too hard to be softened by love, and no life is beyond the reach of mercy and redemption. The lessons: 1. Family first, always. Chasing money and material things can't replace genuine family bonds. Make time for your loved ones and show them you care. 2. Love and nurturing matter. Judith's tough love didn't work. Show kindness, be there for your family, and create a nurturing environment. It's crucial for healthy growth. 3. Your actions have consequences. Helen followed in her mom's footsteps and faced the fallout. Be mindful of your actions because they shape not just your life but others too. 4. Don't compare, just appreciate. Constantly comparing your life to others can breed unhappiness. Appreciate what you have and work towards what you want without tearing others down. 5. Supernatural backup. Mama Adama's prayers and support made a huge difference. Don't underestimate the power of having a strong support system and people who genuinely care about you. 6. Second chances exist. Helen got a second chance, and it changed her life. No matter how far you've gone down a wrong path, it's never too late to turn around and make things right. 7. Materialism isn't everything. Helen learned the hard way that money and possessions don't equal happiness. True fulfillment comes from within and from meaningful relationships. This story was conceived by Pastor Sophia Okunowo and developed by Pastor Dunamis Okunowo, your favorite relationship and marriage counselors and therapists. Don't keep this life-changing story to yourself. Share it with your friends, family, and social networks. Let's spread the love and build a community of thriving relationships.
Do you want more? Read the full blog by clicking on the link in bio or description to navigate to the devotionals, or go to www.kissesandhugs.org. Watch full video on youtube.com/@PastorDunamis. For one-on-one therapy, counseling, or an intervention in your marriage or relationship, go to bit.ly/therapy needed. To get courses for singles and couples, go to bit.ly/course. To partner with us, go to www.kissesandhugs.org/give.